Last time we talked, it was in Playa del Carmen, and I mentioned to you that I'd like to be a billionaire. I moved from that position now. What I would like is actually to change globally, no need for ever any of us to need money.
But it is so portable.
Yes, indeed.
It is such a
But hear me out on
convenient
this.
exchange of human energy.
I agree 100%, but this is one of the reasons what I wanted to clarify. I had a dream, and I know that you always say if you have a desire, it's usually possible. If we did not exchange money and simply said thank you to each other, and if this was done globally by everyone, eventually everyone would only do what they want to do. As in, I go shopping, buy the clothes that I want, I say thank you, I don't have a landlord, and I'm a dog trainer, I train dogs, and I say...
The thing that's missing in your equation, and we understand how you got there, but the thing that's missing in your equation, or the flawed premise, is that there's an assumption that the desires of people are equivalent enough that every thank you would be the equivalency of what was desired. Desires are so varied that in some ways the economics of them puts them in perspective for people. Talk to us.
Right, so I have a house. I don't have to pay rent or mortgage because the person who likes to build...
And are all houses equal?
Everybody lives wherever they want to live.
So the desires are still varied. And how many houses do you get to want? As many as you want?
Well, there's no exchange of money. So another person, some person who always wants to build a house, gets to build a house because...
But why would anyone want to build a house if they weren't going to get some money?
Exactly. Right now, people do it to get money. But there are lots of people who would like to build houses, but they have a crappy job somewhere else because they got to pay their rent. A bricklayer.
The reason that we are playing with you a little bit is because let's take a village and let's make it a village called Earth, and let's put a few billion people in the village, and let's see them as living in harmony with one another, and let's acknowledge that this village is really an old village, that there have been generations upon generations upon generations upon generations, and that through interacting with one another and through launching desires that source receives and becomes, desires that are then in a vibrational place when the next generation comes forth in the next, so that the improvements are passed on from generation to generation. So what if the current money situation is the most inspired, evolved process? And what if going back to trading shells and beads or even thank yous is not leading edge?
There's a potential of that.
What if a desire for there not to be any money, what if it's coming out of wanting to level the playing field, which you never are going to be able to do? Do you feel that through a day of living that you're launching rockets of desire that are expanding not just your personal experience, but the world in general, the universe in general?
Yes.
So the rockets of desires that you are launching and the then coming into vibrational alignment with them is evolution that you accept. So what if, instead of wanting to change something that's so major to the movement and to the interaction, what if you found a way of vibrationally lining up with it rather than needing it to be different in order for you to feel better about economics? You see what we're getting at?
I thought that's exactly how I came to this conclusion. I've been really itching to come and talk to you about this.
We are not debunking it just from the sake of its impracticality, even though it is incredibly impractical. The reason that we are wanting to softly guide you about this is because we understand that you have come to the economic place that you have come to over lots of living, and that it ultimately is the best exchanging of human energies that you have come across. You have found ways of allowing one another to rise to your individual desires about things. You just are not equal in terms of what you want. And it feels like the economic imbalance that you have your sights on, that you're wanting to soothe, it's a different imbalance than you think that it is. So many people want so many different things. It's really interesting to watch people relative to economics. And it's a little bit like the conversation that we had earlier about the cart before the horse. So often people assume that money or resources, whatever you want to call it, is the answer to everything that they want. And what we want to say is that's not true at all. That alignment is the answer to everything that they want, and that alignment will then bring them everything that they want. So if they find alignment, then alignment will bring them whatever they want. And often money can be completely taken out of the equation. You could completely take money out of your equation.
I'm here.
But you get into trouble when you try to take it out of anybody else's equation. Because now you're dabbling with what they want, and that's not your business. And so your economy, the evolution of your species, really is a co-creative, cooperative venture of masses of people launching rockets of desires, and those rockets of desires being received by source, and inspiration then being given by source to those who are in receptive modes. So your economic system of somehow putting some equivalency to effort or to action is actually working very well, and has taken many centuries to evolve to this place. And taking it out of the equation would be an attempt at devolving.
So you don't propose that. Here's my question.
Yes.
I think Esther is a wealthy person, and I don't think she does this for the money that we pay to her. I was in Indonesia a few years ago. There was a guy who was carving masks, and he makes $20,000 a month, and he didn't have running water. And I couldn't fathom how that's possible. He says, I got money, but the government doesn't have water, so I can't do anything with it. And I asked him, so why do you carve? Why do you get up in the morning, carve Buddha masks?
He likes to carve.
He says, I like to carve. So the sponsoring thought of how I came to this conclusion is that I do think that many of us are becoming slave to the concept of money, although it's not necessary. So if I was thinking that if we actually remove this, many of the people would actually become more self-actualized than quicker. Now, I understand that that's not my place, but that's how I came to this idea.
But the reason we are responding to you as we are is because you're looking at money as the basic denominator, and we're looking at vibration. And money or wellness or clarity or alignment are all evidence of your like-mindedness or your blending with who you really are. But it's another conversation going about it the hard way. Esther remembers going back to Philadelphia and going to Washington, D.C. with Jerry, seeing as much of the original documents from the beginning of this nation as they were allowed to see. And she remembers standing and reading and feeling the fullness of them, really feeling the vibration of the original intent of those aligned people who had been involved in all of that. And as they walked away, they spent about a month moving up the East Coast, and they talked about it a lot, and they talked about it with us. And we said to them something that shocked both of them. Esther still remembers where they were when it happened and how she felt when she came to the realization. We said, you know, your nation wasn't one of more character then, and more alignment then, and more principle then, and more valor then and more righteousness then, and you have been slipping away from it. Because that's what Esther was assuming. She thought that at one time that the goal had been realized and that it was eroding with the subsequent congresses and the less and less character. We said it's not less than, it is now more than. These are ideas that you are all moving toward. It was never something that was, it was always an idea that you were moving toward, you see. And so in a similar structure, we're wanting to convey to you that your monetary system has not devolved into something that is serving you less. It has evolved into something that is serving you more. And it is not the thing that needs to be reconciled in order for this world to be a happier world. What must be reconciled in order for this world to be a happier world is individual awareness of wanting like-mindedness, because it is your separating yourself from who you really are that causes you all of your dysfunction, all of your stress, and all of your lack of attracting of what you're wanting, you see. So if you could accomplish that, which the upheaval would be huge and you would never come to the end result, because it is moving backwards, not forward. And we're not saying that it cannot be improved, but there's another basis that you can accomplish easily, and you could accomplish it today. Imagine the time it would take for you to get this idea, get in enough rooms with enough people and convince them in enough ways, and get enough people to agree with it, enough governments to actually take money out of the equation. And now everyone's just offering thank yous. Imagine how many generations, how many centuries, how many millenniums of attention would be required in order to accomplish that, when today you could close your gap between you and you, which is really all you're reaching for. Today you could close your gap. Today you could become a perfect vibrational match to everything that you've put into your vortex. And we agree with you in this sense, and we think this is where the genesis of this idea came from you. Everything that's in your vortex, there is not monetary value placed on any piece of any of it. It's not about that. The money is just a portable way that makes it more easy for you to move about. That's all that it is. It's an exchange of energy. Yes, it is, but it's not the dominant energy. So what we would do, we would begin to trade in vibrational currencies. And we would watch the leverage that the universe delivers to you in that alignment with that vibrational currency. Because there is so much of splendor in this physical experience of daily living that has nothing to do with dollars. It has nothing to do with dollars. Your being in the world, the air that you breathe, the snow that is falling, the movement of this planet in its orbit, no monetary awareness at all. And so we think you can have it all. We think that you can take money out of the equation and line up with who you are and live the fullness of it and let what others will call magic happen all around you. And we think it's convenient for you to have put a somewhat agreed upon monetary value on this piece of currency that you're exchanging, and to exchange that. And we think it is far better than the chickens and the eggs that you were exchanging before. It was a much bulkier, harder, you see. Look at what is happening in your economy. Look at what the cargo is today. Look how much of it is electronic. Look how much of it is intellectual property. Look how much of it is digital. Things are shifting as monetary awareness about the monetary value of things is shifting. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.
See it as a benefit in its portability, its manageability, its ease.
Thank you. I have one more follow-up, if that's okay.
We're enjoying the new thoughts about this.
Thank you.
The leading edge thoughts about this.
I knew you